Hey there, friends. Spring is officially in full swing and the garden is bursting with new growth. Potatoes are making an early appearance. Sweet potatoes have finally opened their eyes and started producing slips. And my tomato and pepper seedlings are on the move. Carrots are germinating better than ever. And I've learned a surprising lesson about onions and row covers. Fava beans are bouncing back from adversity, and garlic continues to impress, despite a few unexpected plights. If this video hits 250 likes, I'll know there's a real interest in garden updates, and I'll keep these week-by-week breakdowns coming. It lets me know that it's helping, from seedling tips and spacing experiments to dealing with setbacks in real time. This one's packed with practical advice, so let's dig in. Potatoes. I wasn't expecting to see potato sprouts for another week, but here they are, popping up early and looking great. These red skin potatoes started chitting on March 12th, and I transplanted them into the garden during the first week of April. Now is a critical time to keep an eye on the weather. If nighttime temperatures drop below freezing, this new foliage could be damaged, setting back growth. Thankfully, my 7-day forecast shows no frost in sight. If you haven't started chitting your early potatoes, don't worry. Last year, I didn't start mine until July and still had a great harvest. You also don't need special seed potatoes unless you're after a specific variety. Buying organic potatoes from the grocery store and planting them in your garden can save you money, and they work fine. While I haven't tested planting second earlies or main crop potatoes later than early spring, they should do just fine if planted by early June. Main crop varieties like russets take the longest to mature, so start thinking about those soon. Here's how my russet potatoes look now, just 1 week after beginning the chitting process on April 13th. Garlic. My fall planted garlic continues to outperform the garlic planted in the spring, but they took a small hit recently. Usually, my mornings include time with my dog Charlie. However, on Easter morning, I was recovering from food poisoning and let him entertain himself outside. Drawn in by the blood meal, Charlie decided to explore the garlic bed and unfortunately caused quite a mess, trampling garlic and a few other plants. Luckily, no serious damage occurred, though initially I suspected rabbits had invaded looking for the peas that I planted amongst the garlic as living mulch. Speaking of peas, they'll continue to serve as a living mulch in this bed until they start competing with the garlic for resources. Once that happens, I'll chop them down and either leave them to enrich the soil or add them onto the compost. Parsley. As you can see, I've planted parsley seedlings in the spots where the garlic didn't emerge, making the most of the available space. Originally, this might have been an experiment to test if garlic cloves would grow larger with more room. I'm pleasantly surprised to say that my sickly garlic, planted last November, had nearly 100% germination. Or emergence, however you want to call it. Sweet potatoes. If you've been following along, you'll remember these sweet potatoes sat dormant for about a month in a cool basement. No signs of life at all. Adding a heating mat was the game changer. They needed to start sending out slips. The first slips appeared on April 14th, and they're really starting to thrive now. Next week, I'll show you exactly how I prepare these slips for transplanting in the garden. In about 2 weeks, we'll be into May, perfectly timed for transplanting these outdoors. They'll be planted next to the main crop potatoes, and if you want some of these purple Okinawan sweet potato slips, let me know in the comments. Seedlings, flowers, tomatoes, and peppers. This week, I'm moving my tomato and pepper seedlings into 4-inch nursery pots. For the seed starting mix, I used Miracle Grow organic mix blended with blood meal. When transplanting into these larger pots, I'm using another organic mix with some compost and a 772 fish fertilizer sprinkled in. On sunny days, I've been bringing these seedlings outside to harden off, but I won't plant them in the garden until the first or second week of May. Succession greens. These seedlings are looking much healthier than the last batch. The improvement is because I packed the potting mix tightly into the cells, providing better soil contact and stability. The most common problem that I see new gardeners facing when starting seedlings is insufficient light. I highly recommend investing in dedicated grow lights. For years, I used T5 fluorescent lights, which can sit just inches from your seedlings. Recently, I upgraded to powerful LED grow lights, and the results speak for themselves. If your seedlings look tall and spindly or leggy, they're probably lacking light. A great way to check your light levels is with a free Lux Meter app. While 6,000 lux is acceptable, aiming for 10 to 20,000 lux is even better for robust, healthy growth. Cilantro. I took a similar approach with the cilantro, planting a few seedlings close to my fava beans. And this is to maximize the garden space. Fava beans grow tall with a deep, robust taproot system, while cilantro remains low, bushy, with a shallow root system. Positioned on the south side, the cilantro shouldn't compete heavily with the broad beans. Growth is a bit slow so far, but we'll keep an eye on them and watch their progress. The Bok Choy plants are proof that even seedlings looking weak or stressed initially can bounce back beautifully once they've gone into the garden. So don't worry too much if your seedlings don't appear vigorous early on. They often recover nicely once established. Mizuna. I'm anticipating strong growth from the Mizuna over the next week, possibly becoming a highlight for the upcoming video. If there was a switch turning winter into spring, it has definitely been flipped. Temperatures jumped dramatically from the cold, wet 40-degree days to consistently above 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Overwintering spinach has proven to be a major success. Planting spinach in the fall allows plants to establish well before winter, leading to stronger, earlier growth in the spring compared to planting anew in springtime. Notice the incredibly dark green leaves here. This vibrant color is thanks to early season addition of blood meal, giving the spinach an excellent nutrient boost to start the growing season. Red Russian kale. These kale plants continue to flourish, producing tender, nutrient-dense leaves. Regular harvesting of the larger leaves encourages further growth and keeps the plants productive. They are actually starting to flower now, as you can see. I'll zoom in close for you. So what I'll be doing here is clipping all the seeds that I see the flowers forming, clipping those away, and to encourage more leafy growth. I was considering letting these seed out, but that's going to take at least another 6 to 8 weeks, and I think I'd prefer to have this space for my sweet potatoes. So I'm going to be taking these out as soon as the flowering becomes overwhelming. Okay, that brings us to lamb's lettuce. This is my first year growing lamb's lettuce, so I'm still learning about its growth patterns. Currently, it appears that these are also starting to bolt, go to flower, which means they're shifting into flowering mode and not producing as much leaves. There wasn't many leaves to begin with. Kale. I've noticed some kale plants beginning to bolt as well. To slow down flowering, I've pinched off the tops, hoping the leaves will continue maturing before the entire crop decides to seed out. If they start bolting too rapidly, I'll remove these older established plants to make room for the new kale transplants that went into the ground on April 18th. Instead of crowding all of your seedlings in one spot, I highly recommend doing what I've done here. Plant only what you need. The leftover seedlings I transferred from their 6-cell trays into 4-inch pots to serve as backups. This is crucial practice because seedlings outdoors can fail for many reasons, whether it's pests or simply just not thriving. Maybe it's the cold. And having backup seedlings ready to go can save your garden harvest. Last year, for instance, I lost all of my brassicas to cabbage root flies. So these extra plants are my insurance policy. Hey, and real quick, if you're finding this video helpful or if you've been following my garden week to week, do me a favor and tap like. We're aiming for 250 likes on this video, and if we hit that, I'll know that these updates are actually helping, and I'll keep going with them right through the season. Also, if you're gardening in 6B, or just like seeing what's possible in cool spring, make sure to subscribe. These videos go up weekly, and you can follow this garden in real time as it grows. Carrots. These carrots were sown 20 days ago and are germinating excellently. Quite an achievement for me, actually. I don't usually get good germination with carrots. They're tough. But here's how you can replicate this success in your garden. I started by laying down 2 inches of compost. Next, I sprinkled and raked in feather meal for nitrogen, fish bone meal for phosphorus and potassium, and azomite and green sand for essential micronutrients like iron, calcium, and magnesium, which are great for carrot development. Then I used a hand trowel to create shallow troughs, sowing seeds about 1 inch apart. Instead of filling the troughs entirely, I gently collapsed just one side over the seeds, avoiding burying them too deeply. A good rule of thumb is, for all seeds, is plant seeds only as deep as they are itself wide. I moistened the soil and covered it with landscape fabric to trap heat and moisture. After 10 days, I removed the fabric and replaced it with a fleece row cover, continuing moisture control while allowing light to penetrate. In a few weeks, I'll thin these carrots to about 2 inches apart for optimal growth. Cabbage. I'm growing 2 cabbage varieties this year. An early variety and a red variety. My initial red cabbage seedlings struggled due to loosely packed unsifted potting mix that were in 16-cell trays. Learning from this mistake, my new seedlings were sown in 6-cell trays with finely sifted and firmly packed potting mix. Tight packed soil prevents soil loss through the drainage holes and ensures strong, stable seedlings. Because my earlier transplants were weak, I lost many of them, but thankfully I have backup seedlings ready. I've chosen tighter spacing than recommended for more overall yield, despite smaller heads, following insight from Epic Gardening video highlighting that tighter spacing increases overall harvest quantity. Beets. Unlike cabbage seedlings, my beet seedlings were sown in clusters of 3 or 4 plants per cell. Usually one plant grows faster, allowing me to harvest it first, while the others continue to mature gradually. This method enables ongoing harvest without the need for constant succession planting. Turnips, leeks, and salad onions also thrive when sown in clusters. Let me know in the comments if you'd like a dedicated video explaining which crops are best for planting alone or in groups. Kohlrabi and celery. These were sown and transplanted recently, with kohlrabi seedlings spaced closely at about 4 inches apart because I prefer younger, smaller kohlrabi. Celery would typically require more room than is shown here, but limited garden space meant tighter planting. Expect smaller celery stalks, but overall a greater number of plants. Leeks. Leeks were sown, transplanted alongside the celery, grouped in 6-cell trays. Though they could have fit into 16-cell trays, using what I had on hand demonstrates flexibility in gardening. There's no strict recipe. And despite transplanting before the roots filled the trays completely, firmly packed I firmly packed the cells, which ensured easy removal and transplanting. I have reconsidered my stance on packing potting soil tightly into cells. Previous trays that I used were flimsy, and trays that I use now are sturdier, and they make packing the soil tightly beneficial. Also, despite myths, tightly packed soil doesn't hinder root growth. Plants routinely push through tough surfaces, even concrete. Storage onions. As of today, my onion patch seems to have suffered the greatest losses this early spring. I estimate losing about 10 to 20% of my transplants. Next year, I'll definitely use row cover to protect them right away. I might even start them earlier indoors and transplant them into 16-cell trays after pricking them out of nursery trays. However, I'm not too discouraged. I still have dozens of healthy onions growing here, and I've learned a valuable lesson for next season. Thanks so much for sticking around until the end. If you've made it this far, you're probably one of the few who really cares about doing this right. If you want to catch up on the full journey so far, check out my week-by-week garden playlist. It's either here or one of these corners. You'll see what worked, what didn't work, and everything I've planted and harvested in real time. And if you want to keep following this garden with me, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss next week's update.